under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's up? I hope you're doing well tonight. It is Stateside Footy pre-match build-up, US versus Australia, and I couldn't even be more ecstatic, man. Listen, I bought the ticket. I was waiting for the price to dip. This last week was, let me tell you, this last week was stressful. You know, ticket prices had dropped to 1,000. And I was just hoping that by as close as game time as possible, that price would drop and your boy was going to snag a ticket at a reasonable price. And then the United States beat the shit out of Paraguay. And then all of a sudden prices go up to 2,000. But over the last couple of days, they've slowly tapered off a little bit. And now I'm sitting in the 100 level at Lumen Field for US versus Australia. Yeah, don't get me wrong, man. I paid some cheese for it. Your boy paid some cheese. Straight up cash, homie. But listen, it's going to be absolutely awesome. So I will be there Friday afternoon in Seattle for the US men's national team versus Australia. But let me tell you guys something, though. You know what doesn't cost you straight cheese? Subscribing to the channel. It's absolutely free, and of course, you absolutely support the channel by doing that. Also, make sure you hit that like button. Also, share it. Get the algorithm out there so people see the channel. Because we have already crossed the 500 threshold, and now we want to see this channel up to 1,000. So do yourselves a favor. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Let me ask you guys question real quick. Do you want to start with the pre-match buildup, or do you guys want to go over some scores today? Because there was some interesting games that were played today. Screw it. We're going to go over some of these really quickly. Because Austria beat Jordan today 3-0. And, I had a feeling that was going to be the case. Austria is one of those bogey teams in the World Cup. They're also a bogey team in Euros as well, too. They always seem to be the Toyota Camry of UEFA, right? They're not flashy, they're not glitzy, but they're reliable. They always seem to be that team that gets out of the group, maybe wins a nice little knockout round, but ultimately they go out. That's like the best way to describe them, right? They're the Toyota Corolla of UEFA. But also the big one today, obviously. England. Yep. England salivated. You guys complained absolutely for no reason. You guys are absolutely wankers through and through. Absolutely just taking a giant shit on the United States about the World Cup being curmudgeon. And then all of a sudden they go out there and do what everyone I knew they were going to do. and you guys were just like poo-pooing it. England's going to get smashed. And then all of a sudden, Thomas Tuchel doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden they go out there and they absolutely body Croatia today. 4-2. Harry Kane gets a brace. Jude Bellingham in the 47th minute, and Marcus Rashford finishes things off in the 85th minute. Martin Buderina scored in the 36th minute, and Peter Musa in the 45 plus 5. Of course, Peter Musa plays here in Major League Soccer for FC Dallas. What was interesting, though, England only held possession for 54%, but 12 shots on target today, and that was absolutely a brilliant performance. So here's the thing, guys. I believe you guys owe me. You guys absolutely owe me an apology because I told you so. How about that? Can I get one? All right, never mind. These guys, that's the problem with the English, right? Even when they're wrong, they're just never going to admit they're wrong. It's just, I'm just messing with you guys. I'm messing with you guys. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because the United States, we have a lot to talk about tonight. The United States plays Australia on Friday. And of course, both of these teams had excellent first games in the group. And by doing exactly what they did historically on both sides, now all of a sudden the group comes down to this match on Friday. Make no mistake, the winner of this one essentially takes the group because it doesn't necessarily matter what's going to happen either way. So obviously, if the United States wins and they sit on 6 points, essentially win, lose, or draw against Turkey, they still get the group. Obviously, actually, it's more like win, draw, whatever the case may be. They're still going to win the group. And it's going to be vice versa to Australia. We talked a little bit about them on Tuesday. On Monday. And so without necessarily engaging in hyperbole, this is a massive one. And I think a lot of people didn't necessarily see this one, especially U.S. men's national team fans, didn't necessarily see this one as being the pivotal match in the group. When the groups were announced and it was Paraguay, Australia, most U.S. men's national teams looked at it and said 6 points and glossed over Australia. And of course, earlier this week, there was a lot of chatter coming from Australia supporters talking about, I think it was Taylor Twellman, who was saying something about how they absolutely have no shot. And, me personally, I'm the type of guy that's like, dude, if you want beef, man, I'll give you beef. We got all the smoke you want to handle because, quite frankly, one of the things that Australia doesn't have is our ability to break down their low block. Now, granted, they also have a very easily, they can easily torch our back line. But that being said, the question is which team is more capable of mitigating disaster in this matchup. And that's something we're going to be talking about tonight. But let's talk about Christian because Christian Pulisic, again, I believe it now was the third day in a row, he has been practicing on the side, still recovering from a little bit of I guess you can call it a calf contusion suffered in training heading into the Paraguay game. He was lifted at halftime. And since then, he has been, working, I guess you can say, with a recovery specialist to get himself ready. There's a lot of speculation about whether he will or won't play. But that being said, I would almost guarantee you if he's anything close to 100%, whether that be 85, 90, whatever the case may be, he's going to play because this is an absolute massive match. For all intents and purposes, this wins the group. If the U.S. is able to do it, that's a wrap for Group D. And so from that standpoint, it gives the United States a little bit more leeway to potentially rest them against Turkey. Again, you want to take as much advantage of this opportunity as you possibly can. And so for Christian Pulisic, even if it is what we saw against Paraguay, where he's only playing 45 minutes, Maybe that can be stretched into 50, 60 minutes before lifting them. But the reality is Christian's going to have to play. And of course, we're going to be talking about it. Let's go ahead and get into my projected 11 for the United States of America. And of course, it's going to look something, eerily eerily similar to what we saw against Paraguay. I have Matt Freese in goal. And I think any conversation with the goaltenders has been put to rest. Coming into the first one, I thought there might be an outside chance that Matt Turner grabs it, but Matt Freese was the goalkeeper of choice. And so there is no reason to think that he won't continue in his starting position. A back three, Alex Freeman has solidified himself in this back three. Unless something drastically happens against Australia where it makes Pochettino think different, the reality is he's solidified the right side on that back three. He's got pace, he's got physicality, he has the ability to close down, and he also has the ability to step into one and poke one away. And so from that standpoint, this is absolutely going to be absolutely massive. This whole right side is going to be massive. Just considering what Australia is about to throw at us, you're going to need that, I guess you can say, that physicality and that pace to match up with what Australia is going to be potentially throwing down that left-hand side. And so Serginho Dest and Alex Freeman, those two are going to be massive on the defensive side of things. Chris Richards obviously goes without saying. Tim Ream, wearing the captain's armband, will be on the pitch for this one. The midfield four, two outside backs, Jedi Robinson and Serginho Dest. A midfield pairing of Tyler Adams, and I have Weston McKennie again in that spot. He looked absolutely fantastic in that first game, especially in that first 45, kind of going into that second half. I thought West was absolutely brilliant, not just in central areas, but pushing higher up as well, too, underneath. As a matter of fact, it was kind of interesting, too, because Malik Tillman started off pretty good, and then he kind of tailed off, and then Weston McKennie kind of picked up and was able to, pick up where Tillman kind of struggled a little bit in that second half. But listen, McKennie is who he is, and I'll just say this, right? Like, that is the best midfield pairing that the United States can put out at this stage. I do have Christian Pulisic starting, and again, the idea that Christian would sit out for this one. Now, again, if there is, I guess you can say, like, if the pain is to a point where every time he steps, there is discomfort, then yeah, I would probably assume they're going to make that decision not to play it. But that being said, if he's anything close to 100%, and by the way, if he is that guy that we all think he is, he'll play. He's not going to pull himself out of a World Cup game unless it is absolutely to the point where, like, when he takes a step, there's just too much discomfort. I can't imagine Christian will take himself out if there's anything but. I also have Gio Reyna playing today as well, too. Now, again, it all depends on how you favor this one, because, again, I thought Malik Tillman was fine in the first 45, but in that second half, I didn't think that he got better as the game progressed. When Gio Reyna came on, he tilted the field so much that, he gets that goal. And it was just an unbelievable goal. But that being said, when you look at what Australia is about to play, you're going to need a little bit of that magic, but also somebody that is going to be able to be an operator in space, somebody that is going to be able to distribute on top of being able to score goals. And this is something where Gio Reyna just provides a little bit more than Malik Tillman. It's no disrespect to Malik. I like him, but the reality is when you look at the potential of Australia playing a back five, and when they sit in 10 behind the ball, you're going to need that operator in space that's going to draw defenders while still being able to distribute. Or, if you're trying to break lines for the midfield, somebody that can operate off the half turn, Gio Reyna can do that. And so from that standpoint, I actually think that this would be the best course of action for the United States. And of course, Flo Balogun up on top gets 2 goals in his first World Cup game. Listen, I can't say that I've seen that type of World Cup debut. Certainly not for the United States, although we've had some pretty good ones, but I don't think anything gets as good as that. And of course, we haven't really seen a lot of multi-goal games from anybody wearing a U.S. shirt. So I'll just say it, right? Like Flo Balogun has the potential to kind of be that under the radar golden boot type of player. So yeah, the United States, that is going to be my starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. I also think that it's going to be strong. One of the things that I like about it is, again, for I wouldn't call it shit talking. That's not the right word. But I guess you can say for all of the anxiety, that's the right word. For all of the anxiety that a lot of U.S. men's national team fans have with the back line, because, again, we haven't kept a clean sheet in forever. It's been a while since we kept a clean sheet. And, again, it was looking like we were going to have one for against Paraguay, and then all of a sudden, inexplicably, we make a mistake, and then they score a goal. One of the things that this does have a potential is this back line kind of growing into this tournament and kind of giving that, giving the U.S. men's national team, a little less worry as this tournament goes along. And the more confidence these guys build together, the more chemistry and continuity that these guys grow together, it's going to end up turning into a strong unit. Granted, we can individually talk about any one of those three, but as a unit, it feels like these guys have that potential to grow into it. Listen, Alex Freeman's a stud, so it is what it is. All right, let's talk about Australia. And I have Australia in a 5-4-1. There's an old saying, and that's what's not broke, whatever's not broke, don't fix it. And this is something that, Australia, we saw them back in October, and they played a similar system back in October. Hello from Michigan. Good to see you, Oscar from Spain. We saw them back in October. And, of course, that was the Haji Wright game. And it was also one of those type of games where Australia tried to pick a fight. And it was really the first time as a unit under Pochettino where we kind of fought back. And let me just say that it was a breath of fresh air when we saw it. But that being said, this is going to be the way that Australia plays. They are going to try to pick a fight. They're going to try to muck this thing up. They're going to try to make this dirty. They're going to try to make this physical. And they're going to try to put us in a position where we're going to do something stupid. By the way, we do have a penchant for doing stupid shit. We saw this in the Copa America. But, again, when you have a guy like Tyler Adams, who really is a very disciplined player, but he can be baited into yellow cards. We saw that in the Premier League with Bournemouth. He does have a penchant of taking yellows. Now, is it retaliatory yellows? No, but that being said, it's like you can be baited into some of these type of things. And this is probably going to be one of a few different things that Australia is going to try to do. They're going to try to get physical, and they're going to try to bait us into something where they try to get us unglued. But the question is does the United States have the ability to keep their calm? Can they just walk away and stick to the game plan? That is going to be as important of this is that anything that Australia is going to do. By the way, their lineup in net, I have Patrick Beach, and of course Patrick Beach actually had a phenomenal match the first time around against Turkey. Of course, he plies his trade there in the A-League in Australia with Melbourne City. A back five on the outside. At right back, we have Jacob Italiano, who plays for Grazer AK. And on the left-hand side, of course, it's going to be Jordan Boss, who plays for Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie. Good player, very good player. And then, of course, the three center backs. Alessandro Cercati. We have Cameron Burgess of Swansea. And then, of course, Harry Suter, who plays for Leicester City, who is, I believe, now in League One. That's too bad. By the way, Suter is wearing the captain's armband as well, too. Midfield 4 on the outside. It's going to be Nestroy Irakuda, who plays for Watford. And, of course, he's the guy that got the goal the first time around. And, of course, that move that he made to get that goal was just unbelievable. And, of course, watch out for him as well, too, because he also made a move against the U.S. the last time this team played. We played each other, and he nearly scored a goal in that one. On the outside on the right, I have Connor Metcalf, who plays for St. Pauli. The midfield pairing, Paul Oaken Engsler from Sydney FC in the A-League, and Aidan O'Neill from NYCFC in Major League Soccer. And up top, Mohamed Toure, who plays for Norwich City in the Championship. Acknowledge me, boy. Hey, by the way, dude, you are on a roll, Christian. Let me tell you, bud. How many is that now? Like 10 in a row? So anyway, this is what Australia does. They are a defensive first type of team. They're a team that likes to break on the counter. And of course, this is a team that doesn't necessarily have the type of speed profile that the United States has, right? So from that standpoint, Australia is not going to be able to run with the U.S. That being said, it's perfectly fine, because when the United States is going to have possession, they're just going to park 10 behind. They're going to park 10 behind. And this is going to be interesting to see exactly where they're going to try to set up traps for turnovers, whether that's going to be a little bit higher up, or is that going to be in the middle of the park? Because, again, this team, good passing team, can break lines. Also, they can play off each other and move that ball quickly up the pitch. And one of the things they do have, especially on that left-hand side, is that connection between Jordan Boss and Irakuda. And it's not all that bad on the right-hand side either. But that being said, they can officially move the ball through the midfield if needed. But that being said, one of the things that I can guarantee is that United States has a potential to hold the ball for at least 60% of the possession. The question is what is the United States going to be able to do with that possession? We found out pretty quickly against Paraguay at score goals. Can that be a repeat against Australia? That's going to be the big question. That's going to be the big question. It's one thing. How you doing, Jamie Mack 33? How you doing? Australia very direct, but US should be able to manage. I agree. The interesting thing, though, is that back in October when we played this team, and again, it wasn't necessarily Australia's starting 11, World Cup starting 11. It was their first team. It was just a mixture. And I give credit to Australia, because in that match, dude, they were physical. They played exactly the way that we used to play back in the day. They were organized, and they acted like when they stepped on the pitch, they acted like they already won. Me personally, I love that type of arrogance of a team that just expects to win and knows that it's going to win. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. But that being said, I love that type of arrogance. And this team plays with a chip on their shoulder. And it's one of the reasons why I couldn't overlook them. Because this is a banana skin type of game, if there ever was one. It really is. Because, listen, we weren't talking shit about Australia. But I can guarantee that a lot of fans were overlooking them. And I can understand Australia's, attitude about it. It's a team that got out of the group 4 years ago. Took Argentina to 85 minutes before Argentina scored that second goal. But Argentina actually had to play their best to get past Australia. A lot of people forget about that. And yeah, their qualifying wasn't great, but they're here again. And of course, they open up by beating Turkey and kind of made them look foolish. Kind of really made them look foolish. And so from this one, yeah, they got a lot to prove, and that's what kind of, if anything, that's what kind of makes me a little nervous about this one, because you're going to get their best. What that best looks like, obviously, we'll find out. But their strength, which is quick counter, against our defense, is something that is the unknown. We've already proved we can break them down. But how this thing is going to play out over the course of 90, I don't know. Like, could this be a 1-1 draw? 100%. I can see that. Let's see. Somebody's asked me if I'm watching the Ghana game. No, I'm currently doing the show, bud. Although the Ghana game I can watch on replay. Let's see. Sean Mack says football's coming home, lad. Well, it's one game. It's one game. Nateski75 is in the chat tonight. What's going on, man? RIFCTID, Rhode Island till I die. It's good to see you, my guy. I hope you're doing well. We are having that second star. Let's see. I need the U.S. to lose so I can stop hearing your utter. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Hey, by the way, man, enjoy the win today. Just enjoy the win. Did you see that it's possible for the U.S. Let's see, playing England on the 4th in Philadelphia? That would be straight fire. By the way, if the U.S. plays England in a knockout, that would be absolute fire, because, well, quite frankly, England has never beaten us in the World Cup. 5 times the U.S. and England have met, and England has yet to beat us in a World Cup. We got one over on you. Now, granted, it was in 1950. I'll give you that. But we had a group of amateurs and semi-pros, and you guys had a team of full professionals and got beat. So, and what's interesting, in the remaining 4 matches, all draws, you guys had the better team. On paper, you guys had the better team and couldn't get over. And some would even say that the last time that we played, in 2022 in the group, we were the better team on the day. Yeah, by the way, talent. Yeah, you can easily make a case that the talent that Thomas Tuchel has assembled is night and day better than what we have. But again, can England on the day not bottle it? Because unfortunately that is the reputation of England, is that they are absolute bottle jobs in the World Cup. Oh yeah, that's cool. But that's true. You guys have a star. Very true. Very true. It came in 1966, but it wasn't in your lifetime. Wasn't in your lifetime. You're repping your grandfather's star. Let's see, Jaden the Man. I wouldn't risk playing against Tuchel. Tuchel ban ball. Listen, man. England wins today 4-2. Plays incredibly well, no doubt about it. Everything that they did turned to gold, but they're bottle jobs. And I mean, seriously, if England was so great, they would have smashed us every single time we played them in the World Cup. They couldn't get over. They couldn't. And by the way, like we're talking like teams that had some of the Premier League's best players ever. Couldn't get over. Couldn't get over. The U.S. would lose to Fulham. No, I don't think we would lose to Fulham. That's pretty good though. That's funny though. I like that. That's actually funny. Wait, hold on. Whoa. Somebody said we have Pulisic 2 times, maybe even 3 times better than Messi. All right. Listen, man. I like the fandom. I really do. I really enjoy the fandom, but come on, man. Oh, it's yeah, because we're American. We say premier, but it's premier. Yeah, we're American, bud. 2 World War, 1 World Cup, England. Okay, yeah. Okay. Wow. Dude, we got some unruly motherfuckers in this chat tonight, man. I love it though. You lads are crazy. Oh, I'm from the state of Michigan. Let's see. Wow. You guys are unruly, man. You got some 9 you guys got 9/11. All right, whatever, man. You guys are crazy. Anyway, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm looking forward to it. I guess the question is, and Jaden brought it up a little bit, is actually he didn't. He was talking about Thomas Tuchel, but the interesting thing though is what this team looks like without Christian Pulisic. That is the interesting thing, because it could very well be a 3-4-1-2, and if you want to go 2 strikers, okay. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see it with, say, Gio Reyna as the 10, and potentially having a guy like Ricardo Pepi partner up. But the one of the things that is interesting to me though is whether or not a guy like Ricardo Pepi is compatible with a guy like Flo Balogun, and whether or not the two can actually coexist. Can one kind of be a little bit more withdrawn, while the other one is, essentially the target 9. The other guy is maybe kind of like a false 9-ish hybrid 10 type of player. Don't get me wrong, both are able to score goals. That's not the issue. It's just whether or not a strike partnership is needed, because Pochettino has never played with 2 strikers to start the match, at least. I mean, he's ended with 2 strikers. The other thing to consider today is whether or not Haji Wright is going to see the field, because again, if you guys remember the last time these 2 teams played, Haji got the brace, and he was able to do some pretty nice things on the ball. So there is some familiarity just being able to score goals against this team, and whether or not that is going to play a role. I highly doubt Haji. Yeah. Let me take a care of a couple of these guys. There you go. There you go. All right. And one more. There we go. All right. All right. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. Your thoughts on Messi's hat trick? What's my thought on Messi's hat trick? Whatever. How you doing, Craig Vincent? What where about in England are you at tonight? Just curious. Who do I think is better, Kevin De Bruyne or Weston McKennie? Uh, well, back in the day, like Kevin De Bruyne was probably like one of the best players on the planet. It's kind of hard to compare the two. That's kind of hard to compare the two. Don't get me wrong. From a talent standpoint, Wes is a very good footballer. To get to Juventus, you know, you can't be a scrub to play for Juventus, and so that's not nothing. But let's just understand in context that Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne, and that dude was magic from the off, man. Although, like when he went to Chelsea, that was a terrible move. I like. There's been numerous of guys that went to Chelsea and had to go elsewhere to like kickstart their career. Kevin De Bruyne was one of them. All right, off you go. Hmm. We got a player from America. What's your team, Craig Vincent? What is your club? Yeah, okay. West Brom, huh? Is Daryl DK still with West Brom? Yeah, like like Kevin De Bruyne now. Yeah, for certain, Kevin De Bruyne now is a shell of himself. Yeah, I would probably assume that Wes is probably a little bit better of a player, but in his prime though. Oh yeah, George Campbell. Fair enough. My thoughts on the American Outlaws, the supporters group. I can take him and leave him. Worst World Cup for worst World Cup ever for the United States in my lifetime. Like define that. Because I would probably assume that I would probably assume that 1998 would probably be the worst World Cup we've had. Eh. Thoughts on Aiden Morris? He probably should have been on the World Cup team. He probably should have been on the World Cup team. Do I remember the '94 World Cup? Yeah, I sure do. I remember I remember the '90 World Cup, Italian '90. Yeah, the American Outlaws do indeed do what the Federation tells them to do. That is a true statement if I've ever seen one. Let's see. Prediction for Friday. Pain. I'm just playing. Good question. 3-1. 3-1. Your 3-1 US. But again, this is also one of those type of matchups where it could also be a 1-1 draw. It really does depend on Like I hate here's the thing, right? It really shouldn't come down to one guy. It really shouldn't. But that being said, Pulisic is somebody that is such a huge component to what we're trying to do, because in a lot of ways, whether he is attacking defenders 1v1 or just drawing defenders, he does so much for the attack that we don't necessarily have a like for like. We have good players, but it's something completely different. And of course, his goal scoring ability as well too. Just having him on the pitch, defenders will try to overload onto his side, bringing over that extra defender. And what was interesting, he dribbled through it against Paraguay. It was absolutely phenomenal to see it. But because of it, it leaves Serginho Dest, and it will leave Weston McKennie or a Gio Reyna available on the other side of the pitch to do damage, right? And it's one of those type of things where in some regards you can't necessarily overload. But if Christian Pulisic isn't playing, then how does that look? What does that look like? Is this going to be something where it's going to be one solitary 10 behind two strikers, or is it going to be that same setup, but it's going to be Malik Tillman and Gio Reyna? Or is it going to be Gio Reyna and Weston McKennie? And this is maybe where we're going to see Sebastian Berhalter. Is Austin Trusty any good? Austin Trusty's great, man. Austin Trusty probably should be starting for the U.S. men's national team. And again, this is no disrespect to Tim Ream. I liked him, but he's washed. For those that follow Fulham over there, of course, he played for Fulham for quite a few years. Did a fairly decent job for Fulham. But, he's 38, 39 years old. And, dude, you guys, you clearly didn't watch Pulisic with Chelsea. Anyway. But, he's 38, 39. He's lost a step. And, when you look at the evolution of a guy like Austin Trusty, when he was with Sheffield United, he was a very raw product. And you can understand why Sheffield was willing to sell him to Celtic. But, the good news is he was able to develop, and this year under Martin O'Neill, he became a very consistent player for Celtic. And, playing for Celtic, you're going to see European competition. You're going to be playing in cup competitions. There's plenty of minutes out there for you to kind of, for you to sharpen that blade. And let me tell you, he's been a very consistent defender for Celtic. And when he's actually played for the United States, he was great. He was absolutely great. And we saw him against Portugal in March, and he looked night and day better than Tim Ream. But, Tim Ream is a veteran. He's a leader. And he was somebody that, it was going to take a Herculean effort for Trusty to, to essentially push him back. It was going to be like injury or nothing. Who's been the most impressive team so far? That's a great question, man. It's easy to say somebody like Cape Verde because, they drew against Spain. But, Spain called off the Dogs before that match even began. It's so funny. It was so funny, though, because, Spain didn't even start their players, their big players. And by the way, that was actually kind of a nice thing for Spain to do, because we saw Germany versus Curacao, and that match got away from Curacao so quickly. And the last thing you want to do is humiliate an opponent like that. Because Spain, by the way, if Spain was full strength against Cape Verde, none of that happens. But interesting question. Who is Who has been the most impressive? Great question. I kind of dug. I don't know, man. I kind of dug Scotland's win, although it was against Haiti. Of course, the USA Australia against Turkey was kind of impressive. The what was it? The Ivory Coast beating Ecuador, and Ecuador was one of my dark horse teams. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say France, but and it's even kind of yeah, maybe Norway. Maybe Norway against Iraq. That was kind of impressive. Yeah, England. Let's be honest. England doing that to Croatia was a very, very like matter of fact, in your face statement win. Because I thought, what's interesting going into that game, there was a ton of English folks that were in the live chat here, just taking a Herculean shit on Thomas Tuchel about a squad selection, just completely downplaying England, and they come out there and let's be honest, they were super impressive. But Croatia, and by the way, I like Croatia. I really do. I've always liked Croatia, and I think that I thought that team has under Luka Modric, in the Luka Modric era, they've had some straight ballers. Like they were easily a team that easily could have won the World Cup. If they would have gotten a few breaks, they could have easily won one. They were that good at like the height of what Croatia was. They easily could have pulled one off. But England is much better. England is much better. There's a reason why I have England in the final. You guys were sniggering all you wanted when I said England versus France in the final. But that being said, it's like that's a good team. That's a good team. That's a really good team. It would be interesting to see if the U.S. met up with England. That would be great. I would actually put my money on the U.S. to win, because I know what England's reputation is in the World Cup. 98. David Beckham getting sent off. And in a game that England could have won still, even after Beckham gets sent off in 98. That was still a game they could have won. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. What else? What was it, 06 against Portugal? Listen, until you stop being a bottle job, you guys have earned it. You guys have earned it. And by the way, I hope it's this year. I really do hope it's this year. I really do. I really do. I really hope it's this year. It would absolutely thrill me if the Three Lions won it, because I've actually been rooting for you guys for quite some time. Let's see. The U.S. are impressive this time around, but will come unstuck against organized opposition. Maybe. Thoughts on Nestoroi Irinkunda? That kid's actually pretty good. What I like about him is he's got physicality blended with pace, and he's actually got a really good right foot. The way that he can cut in and score to either post, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. I don't really care about our chance, man. It doesn't affect me. That's the thing. It's like when I go to matches. All right, so this year when I went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in February for the North London Derby, yeah, I got wrapped into it, man. I got wrapped up into it. That was such an electric atmosphere that it was just I get goosebumps thinking about it, right? There's nothing like a derby match in the Premier League, and a historical one at that. And yeah, I kind of got caught up in the chance, but the United States has, let's be honest, our chance like nobody actually has the best chance in the world than the English. They do. Like ours just don't compare. Like today somebody had like this idea for Flo Balogun, but it was like to the words of that Biggie song, that rap from Biggie Smalls, "Hypnotize." It was like to that, and it wasn't original, man. It wasn't original. Nah, I wouldn't be embarrassed at all, man. I actually would like you guys to win it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Trump really cares, man. I really don't. I really don't. I hope you make it. I hope you make it to the final and lose again. It's none of your business, Ryan. I don't talk about politics on the channel. Argentina's winning. Hey, by the way, did you guys see the no call on Messi with the spikes up to the calf? That was absolutely nasty. That was nasty. It's funny because that's a red card. The interesting thing about it was I had this conversation today. Do you guys think that Harry Kane or Kylian Mbappe or Yamin Lamal would have gotten the same treatment from the refs if they committed a foul? I wouldn't go so far as to say it was egregious, because it looked like as soon as it happened, he realized what he did. And but that being said, it was a quick check by VAR, and it was like, play on. Yeah, it's a red card if it's a red card if it's anyone else. And that's the thing, right? So there were a few occasions in World Cup 2022 when there were some incidents that, at the very least, Messi should have gotten a yellow card, and he was given nothing. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I think a lot of people coming into that World Cup thought that might be Messi's last World Cup. And, FIFA's going to do whatever they can to keep him on the pitch, right? So even though I disagree with it, I understood it. But he hung around for 4 more years, and so he's here again. And so it's the same preferential treatment. But again, I ask you, if this was, again, like another big name, a Harry Kane, an Mbappe, a Yamin Lamal, somebody that is literally one of those guys committing one of those type of infractions where it's an automatic red card, do they get sent off? Yeah. Why do you keep asking that question, Sarah? That shit's annoying. Anyway. All right. So we're coming to the end of the show. Because I got to jump off. I got to get ready for my plane trip tomorrow morning. So I do want to get off. But I will say this, that it is this is going to be a tasty matchup on Friday. And again, it's for the group. And it's going to be interesting to see if if Pulisic is out, can the U.S. continue to keep up the same intensity? Some might say that Pulisic is the heartbeat of the U.S. team. It's fair. It's fair. And what kind of effect, if he does not play, will that have on the U.S.? We don't know. Because it's going to look something completely different than what it was with, what it was like in Gold Cup, because nobody really was there, at Gold Cup. It was literally a domestic-based team by and large with a few European guys sprinkled in. But, it would be interesting to see how that would play out. On the flip side, I do think Pulisic will play. Because I don't think that, the calf, I even hesitate to even call it an injury because I don't think it's serious. Because again, if he is anything close to 100%, he's going to play. This match is probably bigger than Turkey and what it means to them winning the group and getting them in the best possible position entering the knockout rounds. He absolutely can't take himself out of the lineup. 100%. And I gotta say, man, and I would think a little bit differently about Christian if he did. It's like, listen, it's one thing, to miss a week or two with AC Milan. If you got a little niggling injury, if you got a knock or a niggle, all right, you sit for a couple weeks and you get yourself 100%. But the U.S. don't have that luxury. They absolutely do not have that luxury. It's called both. It's both soccer and football. But again, I think Australia is going to be employing that type of tactic where they're going to try to muck this thing up. And they're going to try to be dirty. And they're going to try to get the USA unglued. And if they're able to do it, we're going to be in a lot of hurt. I don't want to be coming onto this podcast on Monday night and having to essentially eat my hat because the U.S. lost. No, it's not. Australia calls it soccer. South Africa calls it soccer. Canada calls it soccer. The U.S. calls it soccer. The only shit you give is to the U.S. What's going on, Shell? We have Shell Bellora. What's going on from Scotland? Where are you at in Scotland? When I'm in the UK, I call it football. When Glasgow. Cool. Let's see. Yeah. Are you in Govan? Govan? In Scotland? In Glasgow? Yeah. Spurs ain't getting relegated. Well, they sure didn't this year. Come on, you Spurs. The U.S. Are tying the Socceroos. Yeah, I can see that too, man. They're literally their nickname are the Socceroos, dude. Okay, Kelvin Grove. Cool. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. By the way, congratulations on the win against Haiti. I'm also pulling for Scotland. All right, guys. That's going to do it for me. Again, show the channel some love by hitting that link in the description. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell. It's been great, guys. I do got to run. USA 3, Australia 1. You can book it if you guys are betting. Lay it down. It's good money. Take care, guys. Have a great night.